Joining us now, the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell, in San Diego.
What's up, Gregory?
Much better weather than what you encountered in Chicago while you were with the BYU basketball team.
Yeah, what a difference a few days make. It was brutal in Chicago, and the outcome of the game didn't do much to improve the situation back there. But
you
nice
can warm yourself with a win.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It's all good once you've won. And last night, it was a nice little bounce back for the guys last night. We'll see what they do again tomorrow night. Good Bakersfield team. I don't think people know how good Bakersfield is, but it's an 8-win team that was in the tournament last year. But that's tomorrow night. Tonight, it's ball night. So we are talking football. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, let's start with our Twitter question today. What's the #1 matchup you are watching for tonight between BYU and Wyoming?
O-line and Jamal, with others, of course, against that Wyoming rush defense, which is pretty generous. And in fact, the Wyoming defense in general is rather generous. I don't know if this is good or bad, but on the flight over this morning, I decided to go back and rewatch Wyoming, New Mexico. And you would not believe the number. Now, it's a different offense. Wyoming is triple option and just run heavy. But you would not believe the number of big plays that Wyoming gave. Every play was a 30, 40, 50-yard run, touchdown. It was amazing. It was sequence after sequence, the same play again and again, being beat up front and getting into that second level and running away from guys. And so, again, I don't know if that's good or bad, having seen that today, because I was like kind of rubbing my hands together. Like, I could see number 21, galloping downfield and all those clips. But that is where Wyoming is weakest, is defensively. Of course, they compensate with an explosive offense. And I think it's going to be one of the top 2 or 3 offenses BYU's seen all year without question. I mean, when you throw a 3,000-yard passer, well, 4 yards shy of 3,000. Yeah. A 3,000-yard passer, a 1,500-yard rusher, a 1,000-yard receiver. When you consider that their leading receiver, Tanner Gentry, has more receiving yards than BYU's top 3 guys combined this year.
Nuts.
So Nick Kurtz would be 4th place on this year's Wyoming team. Okay, they're
he doesn't
very
even have
good.
500.
And this would, again, he needs about 30 or 40 yards to avoid becoming the lowest high yardage number guy for the leading receiver at BYU in years and years and years. So we'll see if they get over 500 tonight. It's kind of a side story. That said, Wyoming's offense, again, compensates for any defensive weaknesses by just how well-balanced and explosive they are. And then, as good as a thrower as Josh Allen is, he's a tremendous runner. I mean, he's about a 500-yard guy himself on the ground. So they really do, have a really well-rounded attack, and they can afford to have some of those big plays run against them because of just how powerful they are. But I think BYU is the better defensive team tonight.
Yeah, and BYU comes into this game, I think, confident in how it's played in November, confident in a non-Power 5 team, especially against this schedule. Jamal Williams has only played 2 games in 67 days. But fans kind of look at Wyoming and they go, okay, that should be a win. This is a tougher Wyoming than BYU's seen in a while.
Well, beat Boise State, which BYU didn't do. Beat San Diego State, lost them in the rematch. But if you beat those 2 teams, you're a good team. You're a really good team. You're a really good team. And again, you look at that New Mexico game, and they just ran amok on Wyoming. They piled up almost 700 yards of offense. It was a day in which they were really exposed, but they still scored in the 30s that day. And that's their answer. And if you beat Boise, you're a good team. If you beat Boise and San Diego, you're a really good team, I think. That's the cream of the Mountain West crop, and those are teams they took care of. And so I haven't looked at Wyoming that way. I think it's a challenge. I think it's a blast from the past game. I think it's a fun rivalry game. I still think of it as a rivalry. It was my first ever BYU football game call.
In 96,
In 96,
right?
So 20 years ago, it was a cameo. I was filling in for Paul James. Paul was recovering from heart surgery, and so we had to miss one football game that year, and that was the game I got to call. Was BYU Wyoming?
Game.
Yeah, went to overtime, and BYU won the WAC to get the Cotton Bowl. So that was game number 1 for me, and all the way we are to the present, where I do the Cowboys again. So it has a kind of special meaning for me.
There's this theme with our guests today. Okay, so we had John Beck on. He got his his first win in this stadium. Okay, as a BYU Cougar. David Nixon got his first win as a starter in this stadium, and then you've got your first game called was against Wyoming on a neutral field, which is going to happen tonight here in San Diego.
And the first bowl game I ever got to work with on the broadcast crew, I was the sideline guy before play-by-play, of course, and so in 1993 Holiday Bowl,
Ohio State,
where Chad Lewis climbed the ladder in that back pylon area right there for an incredible one-handed catch, one of the best catches I've ever seen at BYU. And so that was my first bowl game, was right here on this field, right in that end zone, was where Chad made that catch.
And we were talking about, Greg, this end zone is the end zone, right? So all the great plays happen on this end. So if it's close in the fourth quarter, you just see who's going this way, right?
Oh, by the way, an additional blast from the past, that 93 Holiday Bowl, Ohio State sideline guy, my compatriot that day was Kirk Herbstreit.
No kidding.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, I still remember us meeting each other on the sideline, introducing ourselves to each other. I do this, and kind of using each other as a resource that night. So that was, he was doing sideline.
He's done okay.
He was a young buck. I think he was playing quarterback like the year before.
He was only
right?
a few years out of it, a couple years out of it. Yeah.
How about that? We're with Greg Wrubell, the voice of the Cougars, previewing BYU and Wyoming tonight. Game kicks off in just over 2 hours from now. You can listen to Greg on BYU Radio with the BYU call. Tanner Mangum making his first start of the season, and strangely, he came to BYU with Jamal Williams. Like, they came at the same time. And Jamal, Jerem shared a story. It's really funny. He said, I was starstruck by Tanner Mangum because he was the Under Armour All-American, and he was the Elite 11 guy. And now Jamal's the big NFL scout in his finale. This is the first game they will start together. What do you expect from those two tonight?
Yeah, it's interesting that, the Taysom Hill, Jamal Williams tandem really only got to be together for that one season, right? 2000, like a whole season together. They had 1 year together where they played 13 games. Other than that, it was kind of piecemealing as they go for different reasons. And now Tanner gets to do it, like you said, with Jamal as a new tandem, but just for one game. Jamal, I think we already know what to expect from Jamal Williams. And again, I hope that he feels fresh, because as Kalani has told us, throughout the year, he doesn't know when the last time was that Jamal really kind of felt all the way right. That said, he puts up the yards he put up, but hopefully he feels just fresh and renewed and reinvigorated. With so many guys, checking out of bowl games right now, I think he's a guy that really wants to check in and make this one really, really count. And I think we've already seen what Tanner's about as well. And not that Ty Detmer, changes things 180 degrees, but we do get a sneak peek of what next year is going to look like, and that's, I think, exciting in its own way as well. I think Tanner is going to remember last year's bowl start and have that be something that's foundational and positive and helpful to him tonight. Having gone through the Utah experience last year and all that went with it in that first quarter, I'd be surprised if he and the team aren't sharper to start. And you really hope that BYU has a better start as a group. We all know that they're stronger as the game goes along, and they've had to be that way. Man, it'd be nice to get out in front.
They trailed in every game this year.
In fact, I think the last 16 or 17 FBS wins they've had have been comeback wins. Even if it's only 3 points, they've been behind in every one over a couple of years now. So that's how they roll. So you love the fact that they come back.
Still expect BYU to
But they're also pretty good front runners. Let's get out in front, and see what they do. Put some heat on Wyoming early. We know they can come from behind, but I don't think you want to go, behind too fast and too much against this Wyoming team, just because of how explosive they are. I think a start like last year is not even in the realm of possibility at this point. I'm going to consider it.
Yeah, exactly.
It was Twilight Zone time last year.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm sure they'll be sharper tonight.
Yeah. And I wonder what role turnovers could play into this game if Brian Hill gets going and if Jamal Williams gets going, where Wyoming gets a lot of takeaways as well. They're top 10 in the country.
BYU's more secure, though. So whereas both teams are really aggressive and they're both top 10 in takeaways, BYU doesn't give it away as frequently as Wyoming does. That's the big difference. The reason the margin is so disparate is because Wyoming is not as careful with the ball as BYU's been. And this really has been a ball security season. And we've kind of seen what Ty Detmer thinks about time of possession and ball security and how imperative that is. BYU didn't have really good throw numbers this year. It was a pretty mediocre year throwing the football. But it was still a really good offense. It was a ball control offense. It was a great turnover margin offense. All really fundamental things that if you're starting from scratch with a whole new staff and trying to feel your way along, those are really good ways to win games. That's what we saw BYU do 8 times this year. And how cool is it that we see 2 career rushing leaders, by the way?
Oh, man.
Brian Hill and Jamal Williams. I mean, 2 of the best in their school history going head-to-head in this one. Again, I think the phrase is sneaky good matchup, right? Sneaky good game. That's what this is tonight. I think it's an attractive game for a lot of reasons. 2 career rushing leaders going head-to-head. The Tanner Mangum story's kind of already been told. And again, those Elite 11 years kind of come back. People go, remember, yeah, that's right. He was that guy. Well, he's that guy again for BYU.
Greg Wrubell, the voice of the Cougars. Again, you can listen to him on BYU Radio. Watch the game on ESPN. Greg, thanks for the time, man. I hope you're basking in the warmth of a win.
Yeah, soak it in.
Not just in the weather here in San Diego.
Every day is a good day in San Diego. And when you can add a football game at the end of the day, it's even better. So it's a pleasure to be with you guys.